I'm hyped about it.
Yeah, it's so cool. So cool. How's your Mac Mini? I know you said you got that this week.
Yeah,
You've been
it's
ripping on
so
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome, man. I mean, so I'm running on it right now, like for our call and everything like that,
Yeah.
and I'm still kind of figuring out like what's the best kind of setup, with all these different things that I have. Because now basically I have like the Mac Mini, and then I have like my laptop, and it's like an M5
Yeah. Yeah.
chip in it, so it's like kind of the fastest, like newest chip, but it's like it's smaller. It's like a laptop. The Mac Mini, I think it has an M3 on it, I want to say. So it's like a couple of generations behind. It's still really fast, but it's just. So I'm like, do I want to use it as like my daily driver? Because I have it plugged in. It doesn't have a screen or anything like that, so it's plugged into my monitor, and like my
Yeah.
keyboard and everything like that. And I can't use like my monitor and keyboard for my laptop at the same time right now. And so I'm just like, I don't know. I want to make sure I'm basically like getting full advantage, taking full advantage of all the different, things I have hooked up and that we're using. So like, and I still have the like my old high school laptop, like the
Yeah.
2017
Yeah.
like Mac laptop that's running OpenClaw and Hermes on it right now. So have you got to
yeah.
try out the Hermes agent too, man? I was wondering.
I haven't tried Hermes, but I tried
Okay.
OpenClaw, and I think I'm gonna get back into OpenClaw because there's so many things where I just want to like send a message from when I'm out in the wild to kind of send to the OpenClaw to do. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no, I'm curious. How do you think about it? If so, you have your Mac Mini and then you have your laptop. What happens when you're using these local coding agents and
Yes. Yes.
you have your files on one system? You kind of have to consolidate it, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to
That's
make that
yeah.
choice.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So I think in like the local thing is really interesting. It's like, and basically like with the Mac Mini, I'm finding I can run local models on it. And that's been kind of like one of the things that was fun for me. I think like a lot of this, just as I was talking, I've been talking to different people, and like Chris and I were talking about this the other day, and just that it's so important to like go and try, different tools and like try out different things and kind of see what's out there. And so I thought it'd be cool to try to like set up the local model and like, be able to like build with it too, or maybe,
Yeah.
in situations where like I hit my rate limits or something like that, or something like an outage, like there's no internet, like how when we were trying to join the call, there's no internet, that it
Yeah,
can
yeah,
still
yeah,
run the local model
for
and
sure.
everything like that. So I think that it's cool, but the thing with the all the different stuff that I have right now, like with the Mac Mini, you can't really run like a really good local model on it. Like the best model, I think I have a Quen model on it right now,
Yeah.
and it's it's kind of, but it's an older, like smaller one. Like it's kind of the equivalent of like ChatGPT o3, like one of the first kind of reasoning models that came out like a few Christmases ago. So
Yeah.
it's a few generations behind. It's still magic. I mean, and then you're not paying for tokens at all. Like it's totally all yours, and like it can
Yeah.
work offline and everything like that. And so it's cool, like being able to talk with it and everything, and that it works. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about that right now. Like I just think that I always want to be using like the kind of like the latest models right now, and like the subscription plans are a really good deal. I mean, like you pay $200 per month, and you can use like they have all the rate limits like doubled and everything right now too, man. So you
It's
can use like
crazy.
thousands of dollars worth of tokens and be paying like $200 a month. It's crazy. So
Did you see they reset at midday yesterday, or Claude
they
did? They
no way
reset
they
the
did.
entire weekly limit yesterday and your 5 hour limit. So everyone's
Oh
at
no
like
way.
square one. And I don't know if
Oh,
everyone resets on Saturday, but my like weekly resets on Saturday. So I was like,
okay.
oh shoot, man, like I gotta just start ripping these ages. So I had 12 terminals open last night, like just trying to max out my plan.
That's
But
so
yeah,
epic. I feel like
yeah,
that's like the total, like that's just like the dream. Like just like you're like in like full hacker mode, you have like the
yeah, yeah.
12 like terminals. It's like that's so you've been I know we talked about this a little bit too, but like so you are more of a fan of like kind of like the terminal interface, being able to fire up a bunch of them and everything like that. Or what about it as a
So
terminal that you like?
I don't know if the terminal is the best. I mean, I think you have more experience using these on a daily basis, and I don't know if I was
Hmm.
just thinking last night. I don't know if that's the best way to actually use these things. I mean, the reason I
Okay.
have the 12 terminals open is because I'm still kind of in like, it feels like the visual of the duct tape engine put together. I feel like that's where I'm at right now with these tools, where I'm
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
hey, I need to go get a lot of work done, and I have it to the point where they're all hooked into my system so they can get a lot of work done. But it's not. I don't have cron jobs running where it's not like triggering automatically. So it's more kind of
Okay.
me like, oh shoot, I got to do this thing, fire up a terminal, let's do it. And I have like a
Yeah.
list of things to go down. But I think the ideal point is when you get these open claws running and stuff, and they just start firing automatically. Like every day now, it's crazy because I have like my CRM,
Yeah.
and I can clean my CRM every single day, and like just put everything in the right order, pull the notes out of calls, and it just
Wow.
does that all
Wow.
automatically, which I don't think was ever possible.
Oh my
But now I
gosh.
have to trigger it. I have to trigger it automatically,
Yeah.
or not
Yeah.
automatically. I have to trigger it manually, which is, I mean, that's why I'm saying I don't think I'm fully there. But yeah,
Sure.
what do
Sure.
you have? I know you're like you have OpenClaw running your TikTok, and you
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
like you're super cutting edge with it. So how are you
It's
thinking about it?
It's so fun, man. Yeah, I have it
Yeah,
running. I just like I feel like I'm trying to set up, and it's kind of like the thing I was telling you, like with the Mac Mini. It's kind of interesting to me. Like, how do you think about splitting up work, between these different systems, like between like what different terminals and things like that, like if you have a bunch of them open or like a
yeah,
bunch of different like, threads or different agents running, like thinking about like how what like who you give what like stuff to I think is becoming
yeah,
so important like because like you're saying I think that was a really really cool thing that you were saying about like how that the data systems are plugged into those terminals you have right now, and so
yeah,
that's like kind of the frictionless way like you're able to go like maybe yeah like you have the connections all set up in your agents there, and that is one of the friction points I feel like is like if you want to go to like another kind of system or something like that, like start using like Telegram or whatever like that, or like like OpenClaw and Telegram or something, or like the Claude Code desktop app or something like that. Like I
yeah,
feel like it's a little bit there's like a little bit of more like setup you have to do to like plug in. Oh, I got to plug in my MCPs and like my APIs and everything like that to like make sure they have permissions and the right data and or like the skill files and all that stuff. I think that that's totally becoming the thing about like how do you get that context, and there actually is so much friction in that. And
yeah,
I think that people, I mean, a lot of people that haven't really experienced it like you and I have, about like, oh, like, wow, I need to like stay in the terminal so I can stay hooked up to my systems. They don't understand that kind of friction about that. And I actually think that that's one of the things that's going to become a superpower for platforms like Mach 1 and everything, is just that because it has all that context around it, it abstracts away all that stuff. So you're not thinking about like, the operator's not thinking about that kind of stuff, like, okay, like how do I get the context from my terminals to like
for sure.
codecs or something? Like it's
No,
just
it's so true.
too much friction, man. And so there is still friction in it for sure. And that's something I actually think about like that weighs on me as like someone who's just been using it a lot, is experimenting. Like, because
Yeah.
I have on the laptop over there, I have OpenClaw, and my OpenClaw's name is Charles. I have Charles going, Charles the OpenClaw, and then I have a
How'd you
her.
settle on Charles? Was it a big naming convention, or is Charles
No,
that's
it just kind of came to mind. Maybe it's like the like X-Men kind of thing. The like super smart like genius X-Men like is Professor X or Charles Xavier. So maybe it's from
that's
that, but
awesome.
I don't know. But
That's
I'll just
awesome.
send you a picture of it too, or maybe I can throw it up on the screen like for our video. But like of the
Yeah.
different ones that I have. But so I have two. I have two on each like device right now. So I have
Okay.
an OpenClaw and a Hermes on each one,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of seeing like, okay, which one's better and everything like that. But
Yeah.
that's basically the thing I'm like struggling with. I'm like, which stuff do I give to the Hermes versus OpenClaw? Like
Right.
which stuff do I give to the and which one stuff do I give to the Mac Mini OpenClaw versus like the laptop OpenClaw? And like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I experienced this when I like had to set up the Hermes agent. Like, okay, gosh, I need to like give it access to all these different things. Like, like for me, like giving it access to like Google Analytics and like Google Ads and like that kind of stuff, like the Google Search Console, like how you and I are kind of messing around with that. Like giving access to all of those backends is really important for me. But it takes a while to get it all set up and everything like that.
Yeah. So
So I
yeah.
don't know. Am I explaining that okay? That's kind of it's just wild. I'm like, oh my gosh, like thinking about
That's
that, like the context management, right?
Yeah, that's wild. How do you so when you have your OpenClaw on your Mac versus your Mac Mini? How do you
Yeah.
have to reset that up both times and like plug in the APIs, plug in the back end on the Google Ads, things like that? You have to do
Yeah, I
that
do,
every time.
man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty brutal, and I think that there's a lot of people like I noticed that this is kind of cool. It's like just this ecosystem of like all the tools and developers kind of develop like that are springing up around this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just because there are like people that are making it like doing different things that can make it a little bit easier to like authenticate, like to like when you spin up a new OpenClaw, like to get it signed into all your Google ads and like analytics and everything like that. But there's still friction in it, It's definitely like a lot of it is like, yeah, how do we make sure that everything's like in sync between the different stuff, and that like data is, it's correct and accurate in the right places and it's sharing between the right places,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think it is definitely like going to become a thing it's one of the friction points right now for sure. I think that's slowing down people from just like building everything, and like spinning up a tons and tons of agents. So
For sure.
I don't know.
How do
Maybe there's
you
like an opportunity.
so you were
Yeah.
talking about Obsidian, that
Yeah.
kind of knowledge base versus Notion.
Yes.
It sounds like
Yes.
you're more bullish on the Notion side, like having that in the cloud for probably this reason, right? You don't have to have the local knowledge on all of your machines.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that I really like the Notion guys. I think that they're doing like a really, really good job. And it seems like I actually it was funny. I was just on X like a second ago and I was looking, like scrolling through and I follow like the founders on Notion. And
yeah,
one of them was talking about how like some of his friends were saying like, hey, congrats on becoming like the infrastructure company, which he was like, oh, that does kind of make sense. And I think that that does make sense too, that's, especially like you and I having had built out like the Carpathia, like LLM wikis and like understanding how that back end kind of works and the backlinking thing and like that, the sharing the data, like
yeah,
between and making it easy for an LLM to go and plug in and use that kind of stuff and use that data right away. It's just, yeah, I feel like you have to be really thoughtful about how you set all that up. And I think that this really is like a crucible moment, for a lot of different companies, like technology companies. Like it's like the fire and everyone's like, there's a lot of uncertainty and everyone is just has this sense of urgency, like, oh my gosh, we need to figure this out and we need to like change this because the world, everyone sees the writing on the wall, just like the world has changed. It already like changed and everything like that. And I think Notion has done a really good job of pivoting because they were like, when I think about Notion, man, I mean, like a year ago, like I think of them as like kind of like Google Docs, like Google Workspace kind of thing. Like it was kind of like that
yeah,
and like an alternate to that, how I saw it. But they started doing a lot of these other things. I mean, actually, you were one of the ones who first kind of got me turned on to like the Notion mail system and then the Notion calendar, so they started like becoming these, building out those like integrations, like those ways to like get all the different, where's all the data, where that you do work in, your meetings, all that stuff. And I feel like they've slowly, like they won me over like a ton. And now I'm so full board into them. I mean, I think that it's really good. I think that it's going to be, the thing I just get worried about with some of these things is you being so reliant on them, like all the data's in there, like your whole business is in there, and now they have these things like where they have their own, like Notion AI in there and everything like that and tokens, and I think that that's going to be their thing. I think that I don't know what you think, but I feel like that's one of the bets that they're making is they're like, okay, that's if we can become this kind of thing that like companies use as like their brain,
yeah,
then we can like charge like for all the tokens, that are used as a result of this for people that aren't going to go through the pain of like setting up an OpenClaw and connecting it, or like setting up another agent. Like the average employee working in Notion is going to probably just use the Notion AI and that's going to cost tokens. And so like maybe that's a revenue stream for them or something. But honestly, I think it's just cool to watch like how they're adjusting and rolling and dodging and weaving. And I think it's hard when you're a bigger company, it's really amazing like that they're able to do this so well. I think that they're doing a good job with it, but I don't know.
yeah.
What do you think about though, like Obsidian and like Notion stuff? Like, cause you use both really deeply and I feel like, and so,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I don't really use Obsidian. I feel like Obsidian's kind of
Okay.
more like you can visualize folders, right? I mean, is
Yeah.
that visualize
Yeah.
folders locally, and I think
Yeah.
that's super cool. I use it a little bit, but I think Notion, I like their play because they're based in the cloud, obviously, and I think like cloud storage of your company brain is kind of key because you can
Yeah.
collaborate with it and maybe more personal side of things like storing folders and things like that locally is fine for personal data. But I think company brain wise, being in Notion is kind of key. And I don't really use
Yeah.
their AI agents inside of Notion. I mean, I
Okay.
use a lot of agents outside of Notion just to go
Yeah.
do things in Notion. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's definitely interesting what you say about locking in with Notion, because I actually just had this thought a couple weeks ago. I was talking
Yeah.
to my dad actually about saving all the data from Notion, because there is so much
Yeah.
mission critical data in there, and so
Yeah.
saving that, say, weekly is key. And I'm actually
Wow.
glad I
Yeah,
did.
that makes sense.
I saved it last week, and then I was doing this project yesterday where I have like in our CRM, every single contact that we have is tagged. They have one, two, three, etc. Many different types of tags out of like 25 tags. For example, what company they're with, do I know them? Does their CEO know them? All these different things. And I had Claude basically do this project for me in Notion yesterday, and it completely wiped all the tags from my entire database.
Oh
And
no.
those are like extremely, I mean, that data is extremely important because we've been
Yeah.
collecting that over the last year. And I'm glad that I saved it.
Oh my
But
gosh, man.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that type of thing is a big concern. I mean, if you have all your stuff saved locally, I guess you could save it in the iCloud or whatever. But I think kind of this collaboration, especially as the enterprise is bigger and bigger, like bigger companies, I feel like it's so important that that data is able to be collaborated on, rather than
Yeah.
like one
Yeah.
power user of AI and their machine is like worth millions of dollars because they have all this intricate
Yeah.
Karpathy Wiki LLM stuff on there,
Yeah.
and if they leave or that computer gets destroyed, you're just hosed.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you think about, if you resonate with
Oh
that,
my
or
gosh. Yes. Yeah. Man, that's wild. I mean, I think that that totally makes sense. That like that's totally like an advantage of having it in the cloud and everything like that. And
yeah,
oh my gosh, I think that is gonna be so huge about like I mean 100% the part about like it being everyone having access to that data in the company. And I think that every person and every like in the future like increasingly more like every agent is just gonna have access to that, like how you're saying, like how it's like dang it's kind of manual, like oh I have to go and like if I'm gonna go and go to this other platform or spin up this new thing, like I have to get it access to all this data and everything like that, and it's not really like a really seamless thing. But I
yeah,
think in the future, like ideally you would want a world where your company is like operating. Maybe you have something that you need or something like that, and you can pull in an agent, right away, and that they're able to go and like get the context that they need and just start working on it and fix that problem, whatever it is, like immediately. I feel like that's going to be like making just like thinking really deeply about like the speed of the data and like how that is shared between the different nodes, like in the company, and like different people or different agents now. Like how do we make sure that they get full context, that it's like nothing's missing, like it's all accurate, like and
yeah,
everything, and it's safe, like nothing's getting deleted or lost, like it's not a game of telephone, like data's getting like manipulated or weird, like it has to be like clean and pure. And I feel like it's so huge, like that you have to trust that, and
for sure.
but what an unlock. Like it's totally in the future. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe that we're living in a world like that where all the company's information is really can be at your fingertips if you set up the system, the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
way. It's amazing. Like
hundred
what? Like
percent.
superpowers.
100%. Yeah. Oh, so kind of shifting gears, Enzo, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
for those who don't know, Enzo has a big following on Instagram, and you post a lot of cool stuff like CEOs, kind of inspirational quotes, cool videos, things like that. What kind of led you to become interested in that, and why did you start it?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Thanks for asking. That's huge. Yeah, I mean, it was just I was starting my company Prism, and I really like realized that there was so much I didn't know. I'd kind of spent like my all my time in like kind of like the product kind of side of things, and like maybe like a little bit of like marketing and like social media and that kind of a thing, but all the other sides, there's a lot of other components, to a business and like setting it up and running it and everything like that. And so I always just thought like, okay, like I want to study like what the best kind of people are doing, like the kind of like people that have built companies that I think are like super impactful, and that like I would want to build a company like that, or like they can somehow like have like, or someday have like a similar level of impact to them. And And so for me, it was really, that was why I started that, like, and I started posting those clips and things like that. And there's kind of like a couple. I mean, I'm glad you asked, and I hope I don't rant on this too long. But there's like a couple different reasons like why I did it. And so like one of them was, I mean, taking like rolling the clock back to Cal Poly, like when I was going through like engineering at Cal Poly, like I was really struggling for a while. Like I was like, I had to retake like a lot of like of the engineering calculus classes and like physics classes and things like that. It was just like another level, man. I was like really struggling with it. And so, I ended up having this amazing tutor I ended up, meeting with, and they kind of taught me this study technique that worked for me so well, which was like during class, I would like be writing notes like furiously, like all the physics like problem that they're doing or whatever like that. And like a lot of it, I'm not really fully absorbing it. Like I'm like, oh my God, I just need to write down what they're doing so I can like study this later or whatever. So what they would have me do is, so that I could absorb it more, is I would write it all down in the class, like, the whole physics problem, like all the variables, whatever, like don't miss anything, get it all in detail in class. And in Cal Poly, usually like a 50-minute block in those classes. And then, but then after that, when I would go home, I would rewrite all of the notes, but like really clean. Like I would use like colors and stuff like that. I'd go like super visual, and like recreating it like that would help me, it stick in my brain so much better. It was wild. And that principle like ended up working really well for me across like engineering, physics and chemistry and, calculus and, linear analysis and all this stuff, but then also into like the coding classes too. It was really helpful for me to rewrite those kind of notes like that.
Yeah.
And that principle was like, okay, I need to learn how to like, be a good founder, like how to be a good CEO, like how to build a really good in like a tech native company. This is what one of the things I need to figure out. And so to learn, I'm going to just like start just kind of watching, Y Combinator videos and videos from founders and like Hermosi, we both love him, like learning this stuff. And then things that stick out to me, like a note that I would want to like, keep and everything like that I would want to remember and use. My equivalent of like rewriting that down would be creating a video out of it. Cause then I would have to go through it in detail. I'm like editing it, I'm watching it over probably like 15 or 16 times. And then also like with our specific content, we try to like whittle it down into like a certain hook or like a key takeaway that another founder, an athlete can have that can help them, like in that kind of like Twitter kind of style thing. And so just thinking about all that whole time, I'm thinking about that one principle that they're talking about, that founder is talking about. And so it helped me, it like really stick in my brain. And even furthermore, when we would post it out and then people would start engaging with it and commenting like, oh, like sometimes they disagree, like, oh, this isn't really right. You should like, this is the right way to think about it or whatever. But it starts this discussion, and then it's almost like that physics problem from class. It's like I've rewritten it, but then I've like shared it out, and then people are like discussing it. But it's not a physics problem. It's actually like something that's cool and that I'm really interested in, And so long story short, and long story, but that's kind of like, I think you and I think about this a lot, where it's like I knew that the outcome, like I wasn't sure if it was going to get a lot of views or anything like that, or like if it was going to like reach an audience. But I thought that just by doing those actions, like I would get stuff out of it. I would learn like some of these principles, like no matter what, you just, I don't know if I just did it, but yeah, this awesome community came out of it, and like lots of, new customers for our business and everything. Is just really wild. So. Anyway, sorry, long rant.
No, that's so cool. I feel like you got me kind of into the Naval stuff, like when we were living together in Mountain View. I feel like one of his principles that he really likes is I think he was saying he every night he reads for say an hour, but reading might only be, he reads one page and like really tries to digest it and really understand it. So I feel like that's what you're saying. Some people might cruise through Instagram and see all these videos, but they're not meticulously putting the video together and kind of thinking about it. Like you're marinating on it for an hour when you're making the video, and that just kind of sticks with you differently. Now you can probably pull out these quotes like, oh, Bezos said this, or said this, or whatever. And you probably have all these mapped into your brain. Super so good. I mean, Bill, like I'm curious on that. So what's your take on as AI starts to be automating a lot of these mundane things? Like, for example, someone in your position who had AI, say the person who's you 10 years later at Cal Poly, who has AI to like study for their exams and stuff, they might not have to go through that painstaking process.
Yeah.
So how do you pair this incredible technology with also like trying to evolve as a person, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that is such a good question, man. Oh my gosh, that's like the question. I feel like, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, how is that? And it's so wild. I mean, that we're totally to feel it. Like, and you and I feel it. How we're totally on this exponential right now. These things progressing really quickly, and more investment going into like more and more power going into like how do we make it even better. So it's definitely just it's just like in a crazy level of like intelligence and like yeah like those physics problems like or like and all that stuff I was doing before like an AI would just help me do it instantly and like maybe I think it would be like I do think back to like for me like it would have been helpful. The thing that I think is what I love about one of the things I love about AI was like I remember like deeply, like when I was in those classes, like in the, especially like my freshman year and sophomore year, when I really like didn't have it figured out, and I hadn't met that tutor and everything like that. Like, I don't know, I was worried to like share or like to ask a question, or to like to kind of like get involved in the conversation because I kind of was like embarrassed about like how far behind I felt compared to everybody else. Like, oh my gosh, it's gonna show like how far behind I am on this stuff. But like
Yeah.
with an AI, I feel like you never get that like. I always feel comfortable asking like a million stupid questions, to chat GPT, like,
For
or like,
sure.
it's just, you can just, it never gets tired. And I would have like, TAs and like teachers and like coding professors that would get like heated at me because I'd be like I'd ask questions and they're like, how are you not getting this, And so I was just like, so it's frustrating for them too, and, so I think that that's one of the things that can really help with AI and, is just that it's another way that you can kind of learn and keep on rewatching it and relearning and those some of those ways I think it's maybe a little bit of an evolution of what YouTube is right now and like how you and I learned so much on YouTube and I feel like yeah there's just a ton of really good information on there and you can rewatch the same video like the Khan Academy videos or things like that to kind of
For
help
sure.
you a little bit.
For sure.
But I think AI is kind of that next level of it. But yeah, it's gonna make it, but it so it makes it easier. It makes it easier to like absorb that information and to learn it. And I think that the solution or the thing is just to aim for bigger things. Like to aim for bigger
Yeah. Yeah.
mountains and just like take bigger swings and just be like, what can I build? Like, why aren't kids, like that are freshmen, like starting up, like to build up really big businesses, like in freshman year, and like they graduate and they have like a thing already going or like some like really, really giant, projects. I feel like
Yeah.
just so many of the things that you'd want to do, like it used to take so much time and a lot more to be able to actually get to that point where you could build and like go create something that went from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
It just was hard, but these generative tools are really good at helping you get that initial like 0 to 1 kind of phase. And so I think it's like how can we think bigger about like that thing that you want to really build into and everything like that. And I think that's going to be like a pretty intense change to like the existing like education system or just way that we thought about this. Like
Yeah.
how do we get people to think really really big, and about this stuff and because so
For
much
sure.
is just going to become possible. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
No,
what
it's
do you think about it? Because yeah, what do you think about it, man?
no, I think
About
it's
that?
it's interesting because I was having this conversation on Wednesday about like what happens when we have these brain chips and everyone has
Yeah,
access to
Neuralink.
unlimited intelligence right there. Like you
Yeah.
you know what's going on in the world right there. Does the concept of intelligence kind of go away? Because you know how
Mm.
there's like smart people and people who aren't smart or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some people really work on that intelligence and like take pride in their intelligence. Like what
Right.
happens when that kind of when you merge with a machine and
Yeah.
basically does intelligence just go away, does that concept go away or
Yeah.
I mean I feel like that's a crazy question, but
Hmm.
then I think about it too. I mean, maybe kind of in the more near term, less abstract. I mean, I think there's certain people like I follow the CEO of Turned In on
Oh
LinkedIn. He's
yeah.
talking about
Okay. Okay.
yeah, and he's talking about some of
Yeah.
their
What is
fun.
he talking about? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, so Turn It In, they have a lot of functionality now to try to prevent their missions kind of becoming preventing students from using AI, offloading
Mm.
thinking to AI, because
Mm.
school is obviously a key time for like figuring out how to think and doing that type of
Yeah.
thing. And I think they're really worried about kids just offloading everything to AI. So they have a lot of technology in place to help that. I think it's almost making the extremes worse. Like people who are genuinely curious by nature, or it's
Mm-hmm.
making the extremes more extreme. People who are curious by nature are like us, for example. I think are able to learn way more, acquire way more knowledge, think deeper about so many more topics. But then people who are kind of just more cogs in the machine, who are just trying to get paid to, I mean, they just show up to their job, they're a cog in the machine, they want to just get through school and not fail. I think those type of people are going to be have to think less and less, and I mean that could I think that's a really bad outcome is
Yeah.
when those people can just offload everything to AI because they're going to do now the same amount of work they did before,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but all of it's going to be done by AI. Whereas people like us, we can now do 30 times the amount of work as we were doing
Yeah.
before. And our work has now shifted to managing these AIs. And maybe that's a
Yeah.
slightly different skill or whatever, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of
100%.
how I think about it. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's kind of what I feel like is happening.
I feel like that totally makes sense, man. And I think that
Yeah.
that goes a lot, like that insight that you have goes a lot along the lines of like how people are concerned about this increasing like delta between like, the haves and have nots, like people, and it's going to be like just people that are like really into it. Like they just want to build just for the sake of building. They just have all these things that they want to get out into the world. Like those
Yeah.
people are going to get a lot more things out into the world, and they're
Yeah.
going to create a lot more value in the world, and they're going to capture a lot more of that value. And the delta between those haves and the have-nots is going to expand rapidly because now those people are, empowered by, like you're saying, all these like AI agents. You can do like so much more than like you could by yourself, as and it's just
Yeah.
it's wild. And then you take that and it's just like these force multipliers, because it's like, okay, all the agents, but then also like they're getting smarter every week. And then also like there's people that are like the super haves, like how we were like joking with like Peter Steinberger, like or like
Yeah.
sharing the thing about him and the token
Yeah.
expense, like he's shared a thing like on like that over the last 30 days he'd spent like $3 million worth of like codex tokens, or something like that. Like it's like insane. And it's like obviously like 99.9% of the population doesn't have access to enough compute to be able to like do that. But like he's in a very unique position where they're like they put him right next to the source of the compute, and they're like, just build any like as much as you can with this kind of stuff. So there's going to be a world where people like where they don't have to worry about how much they're spending on tokens, and they just have their own data centers, and they're building more and more and more. And in
Yeah.
that world, I think it just like you're saying, it demotivates the person on the other side, like that have not, because they feel even more like it's impossible for me to ever catch up. Like it's impossible for me to ever do that, because it's like it's accelerating kind of divide. And I wonder like I think it's like, how do we get that person to be like motivated enough to like, or like inspired enough, or like excited about an idea that they like want to put out into the world and that they want to build. I feel like that's maybe like the only like solution, is like to rethink that. Like how do we get those people to want to build cool things too? Because like if you could empower all of those people and like get them fired up too to build like that, like I watched this old like clip of Naval on the Rogan podcast. He's like, imagine like a world where everybody was trained as like a great engineer or a scientist. He's like, we would live in a world of a crazy abundance. Like we would be done in like a
Yeah.
couple of years. Like
Yeah.
robots and like everything would be doing everything. And like that's, I
Sure.
think, how the world would be like that if you get those people to build like this, because we kind of are in this world now, like where everyone is like a like an engineer or a scientist, like he was saying. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it was 2015, I think, when he said that.
No, it's so interesting that question. I mean, I don't know how to get I don't know how to get people motivated to get excited about this stuff. I mean, it seems like it's just really inherently in the nature of some people to who are
Yeah.
just go getters and want to go build cool stuff. I mean, I guess now, like maybe before people might have kind of given up because I gotta go raise venture capital to start a company. I
Yeah.
gotta go hire 30 engineers, and now it's
Yeah.
just a lot easier to get started. And then once you get started, the snowball kind of starts to roll, where it's like it gets addicting to build stuff and build cool stuff. But it's really, I feel like the mindset shift of doing great work and putting great work out into the world is fun. Whereas some people think fun is like go just drinking
Yes.
or whatever,
Right.
or doing that type more hedonistic thing. I mean, no, like I think drinking is great. Like I heard
Yes.
this quote where it's like, what was it? It's like, I don't know, the young kid never, it didn't harm, like one more beer didn't harm or whatever. Like I feel like
Yeah.
maybe we need to be having some more fun generally, but I
Yeah.
mean at the extremes, like people who are hedonistic or just want to kind of kick it all day or whatever. I
Totally.
mean, I don't know how to shift that person from
Right.
wanting to start to build stuff. I mean, do
Yeah.
you think it's
Yeah.
possible, or do you think it's kind of just they're going to get paid, their lives paid for, and then some people are going to be pushing the frontier?
Yeah, I don't. I think that's gonna be tough, man, for sure. I do think that I love the thing you were telling me about when we were at Stanford the other day, and you were telling me about how you were using Carpathy's like second brain, and the
Yeah,
setup you'd have, and I thought it was so cool because you are like a I just like you're really good at like selecting like really interesting books. I mean, we you and I like a lot of the same stuff, so maybe I'm biased, but like,
yeah,
you pick like these really cool books and you go really deep on like really trying to understand it. Like I think back to like the physics thing I was saying, all these notes and things like that. Like you look at your room, it's like all these books and notes and everything like that. Like you really go through it, with a fine tooth comb, and you're somebody who's like you're like looking for this, and then you're using these tools to amplify that. Like I loved how you're talking about how you're like adding the books in, and then they're getting like I mean, I would love if you could like tell us more about that because that was like sick. Like you're using like my understanding was that like you're using the Carpathy brain to like give you like custom insights from these books to help
yeah.
you apply them better. And I'm like that kind of thing is like the solution. I think if their agent or their thing could kind of like subtly like nudge them like using some of these kind of things like that to help
Right.
them find an idea that they want to build and like work on and that they're passionate about. But how did you build that? And like, how did you come up with it? How are you using it? I don't know. It sounded really cool when you were talking
Yeah,
me about it at
appreciate
Stanford, man.
appreciate the question, man. So basically, yeah, I ended up I have a bunch of physical books around my room, and I took a photo of all the actual books, and then I basically had, I think it was Codex, just take all of the pictures and then pull out all the titles and the names of the books. So then I had like a library of say 100 books that I've read or whatever it may be, and then I saved them all to my computer, and then I had an LLM basically go through them and summarize all the books. So now I have summaries of every single book. And then now I built this kind of folder where you can query it using an LLM and say, hey, I'm facing this type of thing. Of all the books I've read, where should I go and check this out? What should I go? Where should I go and kind of learn what I should do? And then it'll give me, say, a chapter in a book in my library to go read,
That's so cool.
which I think is super cool. Yeah, so I think
Oh my
that's
gosh.
interesting. But I think reading, I mean, I'm curious what happens. Like we were talking about that too, because now you have this knowledge at your fingertips right there,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and so I don't know. I feel like
Right.
reading's still important. That's my frame of mind because you
Yeah.
can kind of expand your mind into things that you're not thinking about.
Hmm.
Whereas you might not query the LLM on something you're not. You can't query the LLM on something you're not thinking about. I guess you could have it say like you could say, "Hey, tell me something I don't know," or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But I think going deep on it, I think is cool. Like I'm sure I do also have this mindset of some books are just too long. Like maybe you don't need,
Yeah.
I'm starting to get into this mindset of, okay, maybe I
Okay.
don't have to read a 350-page book or whatever. I can just kind of
Yeah.
get the gist of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
high level what I'm doing.
That's
But
so huge. That's
yeah,
awesome. I love how you
yeah,
that's so cool. And I wonder, I mean, when you think back to, because I'm thinking of, like with I think that the first e or pod that Rogan did with Elon, he was talking about this concept of like how like there really is like we are already kind of cyborgs, but it's just like
yeah,
the information flow between like our like the device and like right now like your AI system like you have it's like there's like all this information you're using it to like kind of like compress it and give it to yourself in these like really custom ways. It's super cool like how you built that. It's like how do we like open that up so like like so that little like river is just like it's just massively wide and like that information just comes like right away.
yeah,
And I mean and then he was talking about like the Neuralink chip and all that, it's just going to be, I mean, I think it's going to be wild when they, for those first kind of, again, like start becoming available to like people to use publicly, or just that it's like, again, like kind of that issue or the divide, like I'm imagining, like, imagine Peter Steinberger with
Yeah.
like spending 3 million bucks of tokens, and he has like a compute chip, and he's like interfacing and talking with codecs, and he has like 1 million terminals open. I'm like, that guy is like, that's not like, you can't possibly compete with that, it's
Yeah.
just like it's so the difference in capability is going to be so different, and
100%.
I think it's really cool. Like, we'll be able to do so much more stuff, but I'm like, I don't know. I think that I wonder how you think about that. Like, do you think about it as kind of like, oh, I'm selling off like a little bit of like my humanity to go and like be able to build more and do more, like now I'm like kind of fusing with this thing. Like, when would you like think about like be down to do it? Is it have you thought about like, oh, is it like when a certain like percentage of other like people around me start doing it, or is it when like it's, I don't know, if it's like safe, once it's safe, I'll do it, or like, I don't know. Like, how do you think about that?
Dude, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I trust Elon big time. Like, I think if he puts a product out, it's going to be good. I mean, right now, it's obviously he has people who are paralyzed or whatever, and he's allowed
Yeah,
them to control computers and do things like that, which is
yeah,
amazing. But I certainly would not put something in place right now. But I mean, once people start to do it, and they're just going to be superhumans, and then I think I feel like it's almost like more obligation to do it. I mean, you're going to be able
yeah,
to do so many more things with that.
yes,
But
yeah,
obviously, I mean, who knows what the downstream effects are of merging a computer with. I mean, I don't know. I would need to learn more about like, hey, you know, because we're both fans of just doing hard things, like the
yeah,
anterior mid, just to train the anterior
yes,
mid-cingulate
yeah.
cortex.
I love it.
For
Yeah,
those who don't know, you
yeah,
got to look up the ACC. But I mean, I feel like that's always important. Doing hard things, and sometimes doing hard things is like, oh, I'm going to go do hard work or acquire knowledge, or sometimes it's doing like you were doing the 60 before six pull
yeah.
up
That was fun.
challenge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I don't know, man. I think once people start to do it, it's almost like you got to just kind of start. You got to kind of just jump in. So
yeah,
I'd be,
yeah.
if we both live. I mean, hopefully, knock on wood. I mean, hopefully we live to like 80 plus. I
Yeah,
think it's high chance that we have chips in our brains by the end of our lifetime.
it's a
But
wild life. It's a wild time for us, because when you like look back at, and you kind of look at, okay, like how quickly this stuff is accelerating,
yeah,
and even just like the things that are becoming possible, even like what we're talking about, like on our, like from a business perspective, like all the friction that's being removed, and like the company information being queryable by everybody, and like a new hire immediately, like these types of things, like it just seems like so unreal already. Like, I couldn't have imagined, that would be like possible and everything like that already, like right now.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, what's going to be available tomorrow, and like in a week and in a month. It's so crazy, like how quickly it's accelerating. And
for
yeah, it's going to
sure.
be wild. Like, and I think people are really social creatures too, and everything like that. And I just start to think about, like, that's going to be how people start to communicate. Like, it becomes the fastest way to communicate is like with your thoughts, like you're
Yeah,
just like sending, like you and I are just like doing our coffee chat over
yeah, it's
thoughts and
crazy.
things like that. It's because
Yeah,
that's going to be like, I think about that river from going like being like a straw to being a massive rip like thing. I mean, that bandwidth is going to be like huge. And I don't know. It's just gonna. I think things are gonna get really, really like trippy, like for sure, really weird. But I think it's exciting, like for from a health and perspective too. I mean, like you and I are both like, we love like surfing and being in the skate park and running and things like that. And I really feel like, we were both athletes in college. Like, I feel like we're gonna be able to be athletes like for a long time, man. Like, if we
yeah,
take care of our bodies like now and just do a solid job of it, that it just, the health span thing. I think I love all the focus on the health span thing right now. I think it's
for
so
sure,
exciting.
for sure.
And like that paired with AI. I don't know, actually, I feel like you and I haven't really talked too much about Brian Johnson. Do you like follow his stuff much at all,
I
or
follow
like?
him a bit for sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
What's your take on? Are you a big fan of him or? or
Yeah, I mean,
what's your take?
yeah, I'm a fan of him. I think he's really cool what he's doing. But just an interesting take that he had was like, I mean, because he kind of has this whole thing like the don't die movement, and like how do you like live super healthy, and
Yeah,
like, and it's really in these like simple principles of just like sleeping better and like eating better. Like it's really simple, but like hard to do. Just like eating better
yeah,
and sleeping better and exercising. But
yeah,
his thing of like, I just recently started hearing him talk about this, about how like AI is the thing that's really going to enable people to get like this huge advantage or full advantage of like what the human body can really do, when you really
yeah,
actually take care of it. Because like when he talks, I love how he talks about like how all the medical system, how it's really like it's just it's cookie cutter, like cut, and it's like, oh, everyone's kind of like this, and that just the information systems and the resources aren't powerful enough to give you a custom thing to like to Will's body and Will's diet, and like where he lives, and like when he works out and everything like that, and how his sleep patterns are, and like a totally personalized like health experience. Like I think that that's going
yeah,
to become super possible. And I think about like for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to do like like Ironmans and stuff. Like I want to go like do crazy kind of thing, like like from an athletic, like in a physical perspective too. Like we were talking
yeah,
about like on the educational side, like, oh, there's so much we can do now, and
yeah,
like how do we get people like to think bigger? And I think about people should be thinking about that on the on the health and athletic side too, like,
for
hey, like
sure.
if you're an athlete in college, like think about like how could you keep on going further, or like if you're just because you're older, like get back in the mix of it, go like sign for a marathon, or
Yeah,
do some of these things, because it's all going to become way more possible. I feel like, and that's going to be
yeah.
cool.
I mean, what's your thought process on that? Because obviously, you're one of the few. You're training at an Olympic level, and you're also starting a company. So that I feel like you're kind of one of the few who's on that avenue. So how do you think about that?
Oh, it's so cool. I mean, I was thinking like, I mean, I started like kind of putting my workouts and stuff into it and using it for like my like stretching or like rolling out, or even like injuries. Like I had like some like hamstring kind of strains and things like that since then, or lots of actually different like minor little injuries that it's helped me with. And it's funny like how to see how it's progressed. 'Cause I think I started using it when it was like GBT4, or like really early on, and it did a really good job back then. But like now it's just wild, what it's able to do. And
Yeah,
I just think that it's like for me, I've been doing track and field for like pretty much my whole life, and like I know like a lot about track and field and like how to train for it. I've like worked with a lot of like great coaches and trainers and teammates and things like that. But I learn stuff every day, about like how to train better and eat better, and like how to get like a better performance kind of out of my body. And I feel like it's part of it is kind of like that thing how you were talking about like the company like information being queryable, and like everybody can take full advantage of that if it's in the cloud. That like human knowledge is going to be becoming more and more like that, like with like new experiments, or like new studies that are coming out about like how to train better and eat better and things like that, like that that gets published, and then yours and mine's like our AI can immediately like ingest that and make it actionable to every human like on earth. Like I think that that's one of the things that maybe why that this why AI, I've been having so much fun meeting around different people, and especially like people that help lead these other kind of big waves, in Silicon Valley, like your dad. And like it's just like time talking with them and understanding like what's the difference between this and then. And I think part of it is like the speed at which information is moving, because like all the engineers are literally talking on Twitter about, oh, I'm building this thing, or this is this little optimization or that thing. Like it's all, the information is flowing really quickly,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so people are able to build, and like the AI researchers are able to take a nugget and then deploy it, and I think that that's going to happen in all areas of life, like in health too. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about, is like everybody being empowered, if like everybody's chat GPT is like, pretty much free, or it's super cheap to use, so to access that kind of information,
yeah.
and people, that are doing the research, like scientists share it. I think it's like, it's going to be a really cool world to live in, for
For sure.
sure. But
No, that's so
sorry, it's a
interesting.
long answer, but I think
No,
it's
no,
really cool. I think it's huge.
that's so cool. And then you mentioned something in there where you're talking about how your data, you have, so say what you eat in a given day, and then maybe you have your
Yeah,
fitness wearable that you're wearing, and then you
yeah,
know what type of workout you did. And then that data is able to feed into this pool. I mean, not many people are training for the Olympics, so you might be in kind of a different pool. But for the average person, it's like, hey, maybe this type of meal after this workout's great, and then that can inform other people. Is that kind of what
Yeah.
you were saying? Like
Yeah,
that's what.
100%. Yeah, like
Yeah,
that flow of information like that. And I think it being a thing too where, you and I feel like we'd be the type where we would do like research online before, like when you think about, I mean, that was not long ago before AI, and like you're doing Google searches or like watching YouTube videos about a stretching routine or a new core routine or whatever, different things like that, like different lifting programs and things like that. And that was like it's a way to receive and to get information and to see if a lifting program is going to be good for you or like the one that you want to try or whatever. But I think it's going to become even better with AI. Like if your AI knows you really really well and it knows what you're training for and what your schedule is like and like how much time you have to work out on certain days and when you want to work out and stuff, that it could give you like the perfect split or like the
yeah,
perfect kind of workout kind of thing. And by querying, doing all it kind of abstracts away all that research work that you and I would have done to go find like the Huberman lifting program or like the different things like that. Like
yeah.
it would abstract it all away and just be like, okay, here's the thing to just do. And I think that that's the part that is fundamentally what's like why people are. Chris and I were joking about this the other day about how like people like everyone thought AI was going to replace people and they're going to stop doing work, and like a lot of people are doing way more work. Like they're working
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like you and I like are on the work on the weekends and stuff because you just you can do so much more, you can build so
Yeah.
much more, and it's fun. It's like this like
It's
feedback
fun.
loop.
Yeah,
And you can do that, I think, with health too. Like you can do that with your workouts too and everything like that. Because there is a boring part of I don't want to plan my meals and plan my
for
splits,
sure,
and
for
like.
sure.
But if you
Dude,
could take that away,
I think that's such a smart insight where like with AI, you kind of just show up and you do the things that you need to do. Like I was thinking about yesterday when I was running, like I just had this thought. And I actually didn't bring my phone at all because I kind of wanted to just think about stuff without being connected in. But
yeah,
it seems
nice.
like we're moving away from this kind of you have to be on your phone all the time and you just kind of show up in the physical world and do what you need to do because all this mundane stuff is being taken away. Like there were jobs before where it's literally copy and pasting information from one system to
Yeah,
another. You don't want to
right.
work on the weekend doing that. You want to get as far away as you possibly can from that. But now we get to like do higher level stuff and build cool things and all the mundane stuff. So AI like handle that. And it's
Yeah,
so much fun to do. So I agree. Like now there's like the people who are really using this stuff are working
yeah,
way more. I mean, do you think like I mean, it seems that there could be some level of even if there's no whatever people are throwing around AGI, whatever. I don't even know. I don't really even know what that means fully. I mean, these models, I feel like at certain tasks are way better than humans,
right.
and then other tasks, I mean, I think we're still
Totally.
significantly better. Like,
Yeah,
and I mean, I guess we could obviously go into that, but like it seems that there could be some productivity explosion of I
hmm
mean the people at the cutting edge are doing so much.
yeah,
Like I know you're
yeah,
you're the one you post sometimes on your LinkedIn, burned like $13 million
yeah,
worth of tokens in a day. Like
yeah.
what are you building? What are you spending most of
Yes.
those on?
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think that it's so huge. It's like, yeah, you can do so much with it now. And these things are, I mean, for me, like the token spend, I think it mostly goes into like just running out lots of different projects with codecs and like I'm way deep into the OpenAI ecosystem. So like I pretty much like just use like that. But I do like I use Claude too and everything like that when Anthropic my when the like my OpenAI subscription runs out or when I hit rate limits there usually. But yeah, I usually just I'm using it a lot for like trying out and like, experimenting a lot, like with so those tokens are running all four of the agents I have, so like the two Hermes agents and the two like OpenClaw agents. And I feel like even if you just like double click into one of those, like what an OpenClaw agent can do, like there's a million different things like that it could do, it can like try and a lot of the things that I try to have it do, I'll have it like go and set up a workflow or do something like that, like and do it one time, and like maybe it doesn't really, it's not that great, it's not really super useful, and so then like I don't do it again anymore. But it would have like burned a lot of tokens, and to like for it to do that research, to like go and connect all the MCPs and APIs to set up a thing where it could run, where it could run and create like one of the things I've been having to do is or I've been experimenting a lot with is like which agents are best at basically querying across like all the different data sources for like a company, and then like putting it into like a slide deck and creating like a report kind of for it.
Yeah.
And so like I basically have had that same job, that I've given to like lots of different agents, like and they're different, they're just in different contexts and things like that. So basically I feel like that's how in a lot of ways it just splinters a lot, like that I just like I'll do have the same kind of, maybe even if it's just like one single thing I'm trying to do, and I'll have like lots of things do it just to learn, to be like, oh, look at how it's doing it this way, and like that's different than this way, and like I don't know, I just feel like I guess I constantly feel like I'm behind. Like I feel like there's so much like out there like to learn, and like every single time I swear I open X, I'm like there's like a million other things. I'm like, oh my god, like that looks so cool. And, like I have like this list of all these different things that I want to try. I'm just like, oh my god, I can't even, keep up with it. Like people are building new things or creating new things new tools and things like that, and also like every day new things are becoming possible. I feel like the like idea phase is so important, like the like, getting a good idea and then like going and executing it, and like that's why I think everyone's like everyone around here is like addicted to X, I feel like now, because it's just like this, it just is this flow of like people sharing ideas that are at the center of like building with like, and literally everyone's trying to figure out what these things can do. Like even like OpenAI and Anthropic don't know. They release like a model into the wild, and like they released GPT 5.5 and they're like, all right, show us what you can do. Like, what can you build with this? And they don't really know. And then of course they see like what people build, and some of the stuff that's really successful, they do in a month, and then like, crush that startup or whatever. But so it's just like a really wild time. I think everyone's just trying a lot of different things and experimenting a lot. And
For sure.
that's how I use it. I mean, I'm like, I just think that it is applicable to every single like function of a business, like finance and accounting and content and like, design and coding and everything. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what are the best ways to use it in these different things, and what becomes possible now?
For sure.
And so I'm still trying to learn that, but I feel like a lot of it is that like discovery and everything. And we have like more, I have a new version of the lifting app coming out soon and everything too. So it's been fun, but like just experimenting and building fun, like cool projects and things like that, is kind of like how I've been using it for the most part. But what do you like, how do you find it? Like, what are the main things you kind of find yourself using it for? Or, I mean, it sounds like a lot of like data analysis, kind of like querying like the existing kind of things, and like,
yeah, I mean, I use it mostly, and I'm trying to find this balance of, hey, when can I just go down this rabbit hole, and I'm not even trying to make any value happen. I'm just trying to learn these tools and see what's possible, what's not. And then sometimes where I'm like at work and I need to actually get value from these things. So I'm trying to find that balance, and I'm trying to be more so, hey, what am I actually trying to do here? Or I'm just like addicted to burning tokens, basically. And maybe sometimes burning tokens is cool because sometimes it'll spit out something nice. But maybe you're seeing something this too, where there's so much more work to review now. Like if I have all these agents running, how do I even remember where stuff's going, where stuff's being improved, where these files are being spit out? So there's some workflows like I talked about before where my agent's like cleaning up Notion, where it's literally just organizing things. What should I do the next day? It's taking call transcripts, loading in fields in my CRM, things like that. I know where that's going because I wake up the next day, I go and work out of Notion. But if I'm having it run some analysis on something, I might forget it even ran that analysis, and now it's in some folder somewhere, and I'm like, oh, the AI did this thing. Maybe it's an amazing output with amazing insights, but maybe it's also just a pile of junk. So I think it's trying to navigate and learn what are these things actually good at, and what projects are they good at. And I feel like sometimes the only way is just to try it. But like you said too, I mean, all these updates are always on X, and you can always see, I mean, if you go away for 24 hours, it feels like you missed like a year of information,
right?
Like you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
which is insanity. Um,
Yeah.
like,
It's
but
sick though.
yeah,
It's exciting. Like I get, it's like I feel like it's like Christmas, you know. Like if I spend like a little bit of time off X, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to come back and there's gonna be some massive update, you know, like our new model or something like that.
yeah,
And I feel like for you and I, like every time there's a new model or something, like it's good for us, you know. It like makes
yeah,
it, you know, we can do way more with it, you know, like in Notion and everything like that. So,
yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely like, oh my gosh, I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, there's so much I gotta catch up on, you know.
100%. And then there's some projects like you have an idea and you're just like, hey, I want to do this. For example,
Yeah.
I made a website about the history of coffee in the Bay Area, and like
Oh,
it
sweet.
mapped
What? You
out
gotta send that
all
to me.
the yeah, I will. It mapped out like all the locations in the Bay, how the Bay is like this modern renaissance of coffee. It has like Phil's coffee, Blue Bottle, and then all these different things. That was just an idea. I put in a prompt and it ripped it overnight. And now I have this cool thing. But that's another thing. I mean, I mean, it's so cool, but am I really going to use that? I mean,
Right.
like,
Right.
probably not really. But I mean,
Yeah.
it was cool to see the outcome and what happened,
Yeah.
and what's
100%.
possible. But
I
yeah,
feel like the consumer side is like I think that that's what they're trying to figure out like a lot with this kind of thing is like
yeah,
how do we get consumers, you know, like excited about this and feeling like that it really is doing something that really drives, you know, like value? Because like
yeah,
for you and I mean, when we're using it like in an enterprise perspective, like we're using it to like to improve the business, like it's we're seeing the value like right away. And like also
yeah,
because you and I like we did all this stuff manually before, and so we've seen like how it's actually helping us, you know, so much we can really feel it.
for
And so
sure.
we're like, and I think that's why there's this really it's this weird divide that like the people that use it on the enterprise side are like super bought into it and like see the value, but
Yeah,
people that are not in that kind of world and that have maybe or like, have maybe used the consumer side of it, like the free version of ChatGPT or something like that, they're like, you know, why are we spending trillions of dollars on
yeah,
this? You know, and that's why I think there's
yeah,
all this bad sentiment about AI. They don't haven't had that like moment where like, oh my gosh, this can like, you know, create like can change my life. You know, this is like really powerful.
for
Like, and
sure.
I can use this, and this is a really good thing because it's like, yeah, like I think a lot of tokens, you know, like they ChatGPT or OpenAI released like Image Gen 2 or whatever, like their new image model, and like they burned like a ton of tokens, you know, or like a ton of GPUs on that, you know, like every time someone wants to generate an image like of their dog or something, you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah,
so it's like not like a
yeah,
like that's a lot of computes going towards that, man, you know, so it's
yeah,
like totally like the thing of like, oh, is it like really useful? Am I really going to use like the copy, you know, website thing you mentioned? I think that's the thing. I think that's the question with AI is like, how do you get someone to that moment? I was wondering, I wanted to ask you like I mean, kind of rolling the clock back to like when you first started using AI, like was it like chat GPT when you first used it, or like do you kind of remember when there was a first kind of thing where it kind of stuck out to you and you're like, okay, this seems kind of cool, and then where you had this like moment where you're like, oh, this actually just helped me with something like that I'm doing, like that's part of my work, you know, like do you remember when that kind of moment was for you?
yeah. I mean, well, I think the moment was well, you introduced when we were living together. You introduced me to
Yeah,
Replit. I mean,
yeah, that was fun.
I'd known ChatGPT. I always was blown away from the moment it came out, where I'm like, I can't believe it just can bang out this essay, for example, even if it was kind of
Yeah,
slop or whatever. I was
sure, yeah,
amazed by that it would actually make some level of coherent sense. I think the
yeah,
real moment that was just completely mind blowing is when you turn me on to Replit and literally you put in a prompt, and it seems kind of mundane and now for a lot of people, but it just ripped together the entire code base, all the files, everything. And 20 minutes later, I had a website. And I was just absolutely shook by that. And that's when started to kind of start experimenting with this in business. And I can't believe it's only, say, a year and a half later,
what?
because it's crazy. But I also think like these models for coding and stuff have gotten so much better in the last 6 months.
Yeah,
I mean, it's completely different world. Like I remember
yeah,
in the fall when I was making some changes to our website using, it was using Cursor. Like I
okay,
was fighting over it for this
yeah,
tiny little formatting thing, and now I'm like one shotting entire. Like for example, I had a call about our website, how to make it better, and what
okay,
I did is I took the transcript of that call and then I took our sales vault that has the information on Mach 1 and how we sell our product, all that things. I put those two things into the Claude Code agent, and I said, go make all the changes to
No
our
way.
website, and I left. And then it completely changed our entire website, deployed all the things I needed, including these really intricate demos because I have these skills set to build these like custom demos, and it just ripped the
Sweet.
entire thing for me. So
Oh my gosh.
I think that's like completely crazy, but
Yeah. It's
yeah,
totally an aha moment. Like,
um,
oh my God, wow.
yeah. But yeah,
That's
I mean, I
wild,
know
man.
we're over the time. I have one more
Yeah.
question for you too. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, you're an amazing designer. Like, you have great taste, and I feel like whenever I look at your site, it's always like you can tell it's built by a designer. It's not like kind of vibe coded together or whatever. It has really cool vibes. And then I know you also have background in code, and so how do you think about these tools kind of magnifying those skills? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like
Yeah.
you can pair two skills now and be a master of two things. So how do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so wild. Thanks, man. That means a lot coming from you too. I feel like you have really good like design sense and taste too, and that you like I've seen like a lot of these different companies and things like that, and just you're in the space. You know what good design looks like and everything, and yeah, I think it's a really, really interesting time right now. Like kind of it's so weird because the whole way of like building products has like totally changed. Like the whole model of like, okay, you need like, back end engineers, front end engineers, and like a designer and like a PM. And like was this really dysfunctional way of like information flowing between those different groups of people to like bouncing around together until like a product kind of comes out on the other side of it. Like this whole thing of like information being shared and things like that, and just these layers, and just that's what's so exciting about AI is that it can it cuts out all those layers. So like, if you're a product manager and you have like an idea or like you want to put together like a new feature or something like that, that you don't have to wait for a designer to go and like type it up, like you can just go and like prototype it up or like and build a little thing, and then you can get like and then you can start bringing around different people at the company and like getting feedback on it immediately, like just that you basically I just think that we're living so much more in like a permissionless kind of environment where you don't need to, as a PM, need to ask for permission from like the designer and the engineer. And likewise, the designer doesn't need to ask for, instructions from a PM to like go and like come up with a product idea. Like these models are pretty good at helping them build out a spec, like a spec that they can go and put together and it just, and start working on the design. So, I feel like it's like a designer could be like a product person and an engineer can like, everyone can kind of do all these things now, and it's super exciting. But I think that there is like still that like the taste part of it is gonna like I think that it will continue to matter, and I think that there will be like a little bit of like just a divide and in how like what the models kind of are able to do, and then people that are spend a lot of time thinking about that kind of paired with a model what they're able to do. I think like that there's still going to be like a little bit of a divide there. Like I don't think that we're just going to like snap and like the models are going to be super creative and like there are going to be no more like musicians and things like that, and like AI is going to be making all the music and things. I think it's like part of what I think makes like really cool designs and really cool products is like somebody who's like had very human experiences, and like they kind of pull these different experiences that they've had from their life from these different things and infuse that into their product that they're doing, like the thing that they're putting out there. Like I think that in that kind of thing, it just is that process is I think that process is kind of like the magic, like how you pull all that together and put it into something. And that, yeah, like I think that AI can help you a lot with that, and that I mean, even like the last thing I'll say is this, that the paradigm of these image generation models, like that, you can go through and like you can just go from 0 to 1 really quickly. Like a lot of people are stuck on that blank page kind of thing, and that's like kind of the hardest part. But you can just get you right to there and get you to an initial design. You can start working with and start iterating from and giving it feedback, in moving in that way. And so for me, I think it's like I can try so many different ideas. I love that. Like I love basically being able to the amount of ideas that I can expose myself to. Of just like looking at different other people's like sites and designs and things like that. And like I feel like I'm able to find way better designs like from other designers and engineers and developers and things like that now than I ever was before. And so because of that, like I'm able to find those like better things. I can use those better things and those principles in my designs. So, like my designs get better. I'm just better. I'm able to find that the good stuff better. And the same thing goes with like things I'm learning about like sales, like the Naval thing, or videos, like these algorithms are getting so good at like showing you exactly kind of what you want. And so if you kind of train them to be like, I'm looking for inspiration for design and for products and for different sales, like motions and like, different like, integrations that I can, use for my CRM, like, if you train these algorithms to do that, I feel like they just serve you up like all these ideas kind of constantly. And so like I feel like I'm processing through as a designer and like an engineer, I'm processing through so many more different ideas. And then I'm able to also use AI to like turn those, like bring those together in a way that I kind of want, and then to create my own kind of unique thing, like with the surfing app, like just like understanding, oh, there's like a piece of like a thing that has like where you can, like an API you can plug in to get like live wave data, or wind data from this thing. And I just wouldn't have found it without AI. Like I wouldn't have been able to find that was possible for me to build into my iPhone app to make this surfing experience. It's like I had that like end thing about like, how do I get there? And I wouldn't have had that idea if I didn't see that. And AI is making all that possible for me as a designer and an engineer. And it's just so amazing, dude. It's just so amazing to be building, anything. I still feel the same way about content, and like everything. It's just, there's so much great stuff out there you get to see. So I think that's kind of the thing. But some people, they're just doom scrolling like, slop and like other stuff that's not, what other people are building, And so I think that's the choice. Everybody has a choice right now about like what information you pay attention to. And like how you curate that information, your information diet is so important. And I think people don't think about that. They're just like, oh yeah, TikTok just gives me this. And I'm like, yeah, it gives you that because that's like the stuff you've been engaging with. And like, you trained the algorithm to give you that. So my algorithm's like Hermes agent, Peter Steinberger, like Notion founders, it's like, and so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, I gotta stay tapped in. Last thing I'll mention too, I wanted to ask you about is like thinking about the designer thing, like with amplified by AI. And I mean, I was listening. You really turned me on to the like Rick Rubin stuff. Like really turned me on to that. It's so sick, man. I mean, he had an interview with Gary Tan, who's like the president of Y Combinator now, and they put the episode up a couple of days ago.
Is that on the Y Combinator podcast?
It was so cool. It was on Rick Rubin's podcast.
Really?
That's so sick, because they're talking about it's this combining of Gary Tan's like technology and startups, like young entrepreneurs, and like combined with his like Rick Rubin and like the artistic, the spiritual side. Like, how do you bring that? They call it in the video the source. Like, oh yeah, like Paul Graham, he was like tapped into the source, man. Like some of these like founders are just tapped in where they just get it. And it's really cool. So I feel like it's just totally like that combining of these worlds, of technology and design and engineering. And I'm really thankful you hooked me up with that book, man, and that you got me turned on to that because I love that podcast and I love his perspective. So thanks 100%. For that.
No, I feel like some people, I've seen some tweets how he's kind of the pillar of who to try to emulate and who's thinking to try to emulate in this world because he doesn't really know. He doesn't really know kind of that much. I mean, I was talking to someone a couple of days ago, but maybe it's overhyped that he doesn't really know that much about music or whatever it is. He just has his taste. But he's really refined that over time, and he's basically has this method where he's able to extract the best work out of his clients. So anything like if you read his book, one of his methods for if someone's in a creative slump or whatever it is, he'll be like, dude, we're going to go hang upside down and turn the lights out and like try to break that thinking pattern and just extract what's in the mind of that person. And I feel like what you were saying is so true, where it's like the best designers they're taking their life's experience, like, how you grew up and the experiences you've had and everything. And then that's all poured out into your work. And I think that's so cool. Like he mentioned some other thing where when you see a piece of art, there might be something subtly reflected in there that is resonates with your kind of state
Yeah.
of being. And I think
Yeah.
that stuff's cool. I need to listen to this podcast. But I
Oh
think
my gosh,
that's,
I'm gonna send it to you.
yeah, I think that's what we're dealing with agents because these things are way smarter than we'll ever be at certain things. But if you know
Hmm.
how to orchestrate it, and for example, these forward deployed engineers, like some of them might not
Yeah.
know much about like manufacturing or
Right.
these other companies they're working with, but they know
Right.
how to extract the most value out of these AIs, and that's why these forward deployed engineers are so valuable. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like they could traverse across industries and add value to these industries when before you needed to be like this master of that industry.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think Rick Rubin, like thinking about it more is key. Like I have his audiobook and I throw that thing on for sure. But yeah, so such a larger than life figure for sure.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so yeah, I love his stuff. Dude, thank you so much. I'll send you the video after this. It was I think you'd really like it. You know, I
Yeah,
think you'd
yeah,
think it's really cool. So
for sure. That's sick. Well, yeah, man. I mean, I guess one other question that I wanted to ask you is, what do you think is like the most important kind of skill set to focus on? Like, say you were, I guess, which of your skill sets do you think you're leaning on most? I know you've told me
yeah.
before about like you had this one project where you had the switchboard in
Yeah,
college
oh
and you
my
were like
God,
trying to get
that's
that
so
thing to
bad.
work. Like
Oh my God.
what do you think that is added to your understanding of this stuff, or do you think if you were just able to rip on Codex your whole college, you'd be better off?
Yeah, I think it was cool. I mean, I think that, you know, that kind of part about taking these different like things that you have like very human experiences like that was basically in like a computer engineering class and there was just this thing I was like so broken with my like motherboard. We were soldering components onto motherboards and my thing was not working and it was like kind of a thing where you had to trace the root cause and you know figure it out and it's weird in hardware land doing that very different than like you know software land and coding and everything. But I think it's so cool like that like I'm so glad I had that experience, you know, and you kind of like learn that lesson of like okay, here's like how do we kind of evaluate different things to kind of trace the root cause of it and chase this down. And it's like you don't if there's so much uncertainty like you don't know if this like thing you open up the thing if it's gonna work, you know, like you open up the box like oh is this gonna be the answer I need or not, I gotta keep on looking, you know, I gotta keep on hunting. And it's I think that kind of feeling though and like going through that and experiencing that in different domains is the thing, is a really like amazing. I mean, I'm really thankful that I had that experience. And I think that's kind of how you start to learn some of the, I feel like there's just certain principles, like, and you understand this, you know, as an athlete, that like they just carry across life in these different ways, like that. And like for me, that was like a hardware kind of engineering class, and you know, but just like the idea of it, you know, you got to keep on like trying one thing, you know, you don't know if it's gonna work, but you're gonna like learn a little bit, and then you try something else, you don't know if that's gonna work, you like learn a bit and try, and you know, I feel like it's similar to how I was like with pole vaulting, you know, you like, y'all, you don't know if it's gonna work, and like you miss the bar a million times, and like the millionth and first time you clear it, you know. But each of those times you learn a little bit, you know, and it's just you don't really know when the next height if you're gonna clear it or not. You're just like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
try, but you don't know if it's gonna be like the 100,000th one or whatever where you're gonna go.
for
And
sure,
the same
for
thing with
sure.
like debugging the hardware and like when we were at in high school I was like building a PC to streaming, so I was doing like gaming streaming at the time, and I built it. And I ordered like I think it was like 8 gigabytes of RAM or something like that. It wasn't that much, like 16. It was like 2 sticks of RAM. And I'm playing when I was gaming, like it was I'd be like kind of like doing a low, like a kind of an easy like game. It's not that hard for a computer to run. And it would crash and give me the blue screen of death like on Windows like after a little bit. And it was like trying to debug this thing was so hard. I was like, is there something wrong in my operating system? Like is it
Yeah,
corrupted like in the operating system, or is it like the game, you know? So you think about there's like all these different layers and you start to learn about that. Like, okay, there's different layers to it, just like in the motherboard and the soldering and the components, like this in the copper wires underneath, like there's different layers to it. And you have to like you're looking for the answer and you start to pull the layers back and like you just test different things. And for me at the time, it turned out being that it was one of the sticks of RAM was like corrupted. And the only way that I found that was like was trying it for days, trying to figure out like what the root cause was. And then I tried it without one of the sticks, and then it worked. I was like, I never would have found that. And so it's just kind of like this, but all these things about like with the PC or like getting your code to run or getting a, YouTube channel to get to 10K subscribers or whatever these things are, or like you're building your motherboard, that there's like, you have this goal and you're trying to get there, but you don't know how many iterations it's going to take. And like, it's a lot of uncertainty and like, it's very frustrating, and like, but if you can just like, I think that you really understand this. I love when we talked about, the Josh like Wilkinson like kind of thing about like loving the process, and like learning to be like love the process and be in the flow type of thing. Like that's kind of similar to the Rick Rubin thing too as well. And I think that like that is a muscle that you develop as a human, and that you can apply that to different things. You can apply that in a run, and you're out in a long run too, or whatever. You apply it to these different things, and it feels kind of the same. And you're like, it's like this deep truth about life. I feel like that you learn from some of these different environments, but you only learn that by going into the arena, and challenging yourself and like playing in these different environments. And I think those are the people that are going to win with AI, right now, are people that are trying to get in these arenas. Even if they're getting beat up and stuff, just try it, just try to have fun with it and learn.
100%. No, I feel I resonate so much with that. I mean, maybe that's what you were talking about earlier. You asked the question, how do we motivate these people? Maybe it's just getting them to fall in love with the process because, I mean, when you're going to the cold plunger, you're ripping the wind. It's like the thing actually sucks, but in reality, you love the concept of it because you're just you're at the edge of what's humanly possible, and then that translates into your other daily life. Like I was thinking too when you were just talking with the copper wires and debugging all this stuff. I wonder if that somehow fuels your appreciation for how good these technologies are. And you're like, I got to get the most out of it. Whereas someone who hasn't had that experience is like, oh, the AI can talk and it can write for me, whatever. But they're just like, oh, that's cool. But you're like, hey, this thing is insane. Like I've spent days trying to debug, get the blue screen of death off and figure out how to set up my manual system. I mean, maybe there's some foundational levels that are important. Like, I don't know. I've never really gone deep on like the foundation of like zeros and ones or whatever. I mean, maybe going deep down that rabbit hole would, like, we live near the Computer History Museum. I feel like it'd be cool to go check that out. Like, what's the foundational stack beneath this whole thing? So
100%. Well, that's the thing though. I think that like people that have been in the weeds, like have been in the details and have like felt a little bit of that pain of like God kicked in the teeth a few times. Like, like for you in whatever like domain that you're in, like that is like the thing to capture, I feel like. And like for you, like, I mean, you being so deep on like on the sales side and understanding all that so much and understanding, before AI was able to help so much on the sales side and do like so much of these extra things, like you were doing so much of that manual work by yourself. So you have so much of like an appreciation of like how it works under the hood, like how it really works. Cause like in a few years, people are just going to be telling agents to just do it. They aren't really going to probably understand or have an appreciation for all those things that it's doing and adjusting, like, but you understand the system, like understanding the system is, I think, super important. And you can't just like, ask AI and it just tells you. Like you got to really do the work of like, of feeling it, and to understand the texture of that system. But I think that if you do, then you can like point AI agents in the right way to thrive in that system versus somebody who doesn't understand it. So 100%. I just think it's so exciting, dude. It's like, oh my gosh.
It's so cool. And I love that book. You sent me the Elon book about like, he really talks about first principles thinking. And I feel like first principles thinking can be applied anywhere, I mean, obviously, like he applies first principles thinking to rocket building. And like he figured out that basically he could build a rocket for 1/10 the price of what rockets were going for by breaking down every individual piece of hardware and figuring out, hey, can we get this thing? Can we put a different piece of hardware in there? And then he's talking about like, when he's launching these rockets and they're blowing up, like some people think he's failing, but it's really he's really pushing the limits of what's possible with that rocket. There's sensors on it. Hey, what's the cheapest piece of metal that we can have on this rocket that still holds up under pressure? And maybe they undershoot a little bit, the rocket blows up, but now you got to go one tick forward. So I feel like
Yes.
that the first principles thinking is so key in AI stuff too. It's not just you and the chatbot and you're going back and forth. It's like you got to know all this stuff and be able to think about all this stuff too. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
There's so much that you learn, right, in like that failure zone, and that's I think the thing that separates a lot of people, and it's just like that you are comfortable like going into that and getting the knowledge out of the failure zone. I think
yeah,
that so many people are like they won't do that no matter what, and I think a lot of
yeah,
it is like. Yeah, you're just like programmed. You don't want to fail. You're like, I can't fail. I can't fail. I'm gonna die if I fail this. I can't do it. But so like a lot of people like are risk averse like that. But I think that like people, that's something I think to learn too is like to quiet that voice and to amplify the voice of, oh, like let me just try it. It's okay if I fail. And like let me just try and learn. Like I'm just kind of curious about this kind of
yeah,
thing. And like in framing it that way and like in that yeah like people who understand that like get it like get the rocket thing of this that like you're that's literally one of the things that great people do is they find their limit. Like you got to find your limit. Like you and I are on the Stanford track. Like, all right, how fast can I run this 200? Right? Like you
yeah,
find your limit, and then you work backwards from there to build a program about how do you improve the limit. But you have to
yeah,
figure out. You have to have real data and face reality and be like, okay, what's the limit?
yeah,
And that is the thing. I think a lot of people haven't done that exercise. But if you're like where you are, like in just like where you are in life, and like as an athlete and everything like that, you've obviously like found that limit over and over and over, and then looked at it and like, okay, how do I increase the limit? Like how do I do more reps, more practice, whatever to
yeah.
do it. And that is just the thing I feel like, man. So it's
Hundred
just a
percent, man.
super cool. So I gotta bounce here in a sec. I gotta bounce here in a sec though, but this
Dude,
is this
yeah,
this is epic, man. Let's do like yeah, totally do this. I mean, if you're up for it, like every week if we could, that'd be
I'm so
sick.
down.